It is 3:32 in the morning. I'm Aaron.
I'm Mike.
I'm Kyle.
And tonight on the Sleepy Nerds podcast, who would win, Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, or Clint Howard? Did I do that one before?
No.
Listen.
So are we going to talk about why you guys know so much about Juggalos, or?
Maybe another day.
To all my juggalos out there, whoop whoop. Hi.
Kyle, don't get us Juggalo listeners.
We
Why
have, first of all, I'm not a juggalo, but we have several juggalo listeners.
Do we?
We do. We have a lot of juggalo listeners in Kentucky. I support you. I love you. Don't kill my family.
From what I know, Juggalos are a very dedicated fan base, so
They
we
are.
want
Yeah.
them as our fans.
Okay.
We want to be part of what they call the family.
I
I don't know about that.
I did not know we had like so much overlap in the the things that appeal to Juggalos in the content of our podcast.
How could you not?
Well, apparently I don't know anything about Juggalos compared to you two, so
Well, I also like second-rate soda and wife beaters. So
send me an email telling me about Juggalos. Kyle at... So,
speaking of,
this is a great segue to our topic, which is disappointments.
Aaron, you're offending our fan base.
I don't... Until I see the Facebook accounts, I don't actually believe that we have Juggalo fans.
all right.
But anyway, today we're going to be talking about different disappointments we've had. I think every nerd has had that experience of really looking forward to something, whether it's a movie, a TV show, book, whatever, an album, and then it comes out and it's just crushing. Just the worst.
As nerds, it seems we get that more often than most.
Right. And I think lately there's been a lot of, at least for me, like tempering those expectations. Or it's like some trailer comes out where you're like, oh, this isn't going to be good. So you don't get it all the way up.
I think that's another thing. It's like, what's even worse is seeing something, knowing it will not be good, but still hoping it will be.
Yeah, mister, I saw Suicide Squad in theaters.
I did see Suicide Squad in theaters.
There was no
So
point
did I.
at which that movie... Really?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you two?
We're DC fanboys. We can't help it.
I'm really like feeling alienated already in this podcast.
Here's the thing. I want every comic book thing to be good.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
I know they all won't be.
I also want them
We have
all to be
hope.
good, but I can also recognize when they're not going to be, and like, okay, I won't spend $15 to see
And
that in theaters.
Suicide Squad was garbage, but it was one of the most interesting
Pieces of garbage.
pieces of garbage ever. Like, I felt like I had to be there. It was like for the autopsy.
It's like a car crash or a train wreck.
Yeah,
you
I had to
You
watch
can't
it,
look
yeah.
away. Like you want to, but you can't.
That's not a disappointment. Like we
I
all
could
we
look
all
away.
knew that we knew that would be trash.
Right,
So that's not
right.
disappointing.
So, do you want to start then, Kyle, with...
Yeah, I think, speaking of comic book properties, which we normally do, my biggest disappointment recently, and I think a lot of people felt the same way, is the Netflix Iron Fist series
Yeah, I agree
in
with
general. Like, I think like pretty much everything with him. And there's a bit of a redemption, and I'll get to that, but I think my problem with Iron Fist, with Netflix anyway, is they seem to miss the entire point of the character. Like, I really like Danny Rand. I really like Iron Fist. He's a top 10 Marvel character for me. And I think it was, I can't even remember the name, the showrunner was the guy that did the last few seasons of Dexter, which completely just,
Not good.
as
I
soon
think
as they,
universally
yeah.
considered awful.
And now he's the showrunner for Inhumans.
It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Iron Fist, it was one. I didn't have a problem with the actor like a lot of people did. I mean, besides one, the controversy of like, do we cast a white actor? But even besides that, like that's the 15th thing wrong with this Iron Fist is like
That was such a joke. Like, I really think that whole controversy is why people went into that show with a negative attitude, and that's why I think it, critically at least, it didn't do as well as it could have. Like it wasn't the best by far.
It wasn't good anyway. Like,
but it wasn't as bad as a lot of people made it out to be. And
It was pretty bad.
it was I agree, but I think that whole like controversy looming over it did not help.
I agree with Kyle. It was like it's the wrong thing to look at and why it was bad. You know,
Yeah.
it was like picking on Trump for his dental hygiene.
But
It's
just-
like,
but the
really,
thing
that's
is,
what you have a problem
just
with?
being mad about that is like missing the point of everything else wrong with the show.
Right, but I feel like because that was the first, like a lot of people's first introduction to the show, like they went in with that controversy in mind, and like it just kind of loomed over everybody's thing.
Like, I think the actor. There's so many other actors they could have gone with that are actually have like martial arts training and are good actors. Like God, why can't I remember his name now? I always say he's
I was gonna say you've suggested the same person like 50 times. If only
Scott
I
Adkins.
listened when you
Scott
talked.
Adkins, who should play every superhero.
I'm making an interesting team up film.
I mean, Finn Jones wasn't a horrible casting choice.
He's just, I'm not sure like what his direction was. Like it seemed to be, all right, well, he's quoting all this like Zen philosophy, but he's also like a petulant child, and he's also a dick, but he's also chill,
Yeah.
and he's also very knowledgeable, but then he's stupid. And it seemed like they didn't know what they wanted to do with this character. And I think it's because there was kind of this like late, it wasn't even a reveal. Just like people started saying near the end of the show, like, you're the worst Iron Fist ever. You're a bad Iron Fist. Oh, you left before you got your training.
Yeah.
If that had been like a second episode reveal, like, oh, he's been Iron Fist for a week
Yeah.
and he got bored and left. And the entire show is about him like learning responsibility
Yeah.
and learning like and being like, yeah, I am a really shitty Iron Fist.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn though.
Yeah.
I would have been more forgiven.
Right,
Well,
but he came in with like, I'm Danny Rand and I'm the immortal Iron Fist.
Well, they
so
never
everyone
really
step
say
down.
in the show how long he was Iron Fist until he left. Did
They
they?
didn't know.
It could have been, like you said, a week. It could have been 2 months. It could have been a year. Like they
Yeah.
never really say.
They did the whole kind of like cheap like passage of time deal with those like fucking facial hair and
Yeah.
just him kind of like sitting on a mountain like looking listlessly off at stuff. But the thing was like there's moments where, you know, he goes on and on. He's like, I'm the Iron Fist. I'm the Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, well, how's he going to prove he's the Iron Fist? And there's that dumb martial arts tournament that he was at, like that like
Yeah.
underground martial arts. And he like finally proved himself by beating 2 guys. I'm like, yeah, but Colleen did that earlier in the episode or the previous episode just because like
Yeah.
every other character in that show was so good except him.
Yeah.
And-
I don't think that's his fault, though. I think it was the writing of his character
Well, that's
and the
what
way
I'm
they
talking about, is,
wanted to portray
He was written so poorly. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they knew what to do with him.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, redemption-wise, they fixed it a little bit in Defenders.
Yeah. I
You
agree
guys
with
both
that.
seen all of Defenders, right?
Yep. Watching it again
Like,
now.
okay. I like, you know, Luke Cage kind of calling him out and saying,
Yeah.
like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're fucking rich. Like, you don't,
Yeah.
like,
That's
you're
like,
ridiculous.
That's
you
like
know?
the second or third episode, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like the third one.
think it's the
and
third
he
one.
even like it even clicks for him then because then he's like,
Oh yeah, he's
I
like,
can
"Oh,
do all this.
yeah."
I have money.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
CEO of a major company.
Like,
I
I
can
like
just
that.
walk in and do this.
I liked that stuff. I like that they kind of treat him a little bit more like, I won't say dumb, but like naively like believing in his mission. Like
Yeah.
he's like, we got the mission, guys, we got the mission. I liked his enthusiasm for it, and I thought they were course correcting him a bit. He
Yeah.
still does like weird, like whiny moments, which just like I guess, again don't make sense for his character.
Yeah.
If he's been raised by monks since like a certain age, why is he still acting the age? It's like, oh, they beat us without mercy every day, and we did all this like hard training. It's like, yeah, then why are you such an
They,
asshole?
they
Like,
did not crack down on whining. If he
Yeah,
didn't do
like-
his chores or his exercises, they beat him. But if he was like, I want more dessert, they were like, okay.
That's
you
where the
scamp.
monks of Kunlun dropped
but-
the ball.
yeah, just, I like the Meachums.
sticks,
The
or his-
Meachums were boring. I didn't care about
Yeah.
the Meachums at all. What was the brother? Was it
Ward.
Ward? Like Ward, I started liking a little bit more.
He was
like
he was more interesting towards the end.
towards
when
the
he
end, like
started,
he had like some conflict. I like that where his
Yeah.
fucking like dad came back to life. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
When what's this? I can't remember any of the characters' names. That's how
who the dad Harold.
Harold. When Harold died and then he came back and he's just like, oh, what's everything? Like that was embarrassing. I wonder how much they paid that guy to do that because
I don't even remember that.
it
part.
wasn't enough. It was dumb.
I don't even remember. Was it like after he died from his disease or whatever?
No,
don't
it was
think- I
after he
don't
got like killed. Like Ward killed him. Remember that?
So among the
No.
show sins we're learning is it was incredibly forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like all the hand stuff, it was like I didn't really care for, and like
Well, that
Colleen
was-
being part of the hand was just a dumb reveal. And
That
I
was
didn't-
just set up for the Defenders.
it was, and
This is the typical Marvel fashion. They'll use something to set up something else. We see it in the movies all the time,
Yeah.
and that's what I feel like Iron Fist was
Yeah.
for the Netflix ones.
But where that fails and where that failed in this case is like when you aren't telling a complete story while you're setting things up.
Yeah.
Like setting things up is fine, but you have to have your own story too. Otherwise, it's like that middle movie in a trilogy syndrome. If you're just setting things up, you're like, great. Why did I just watch this other than to prepare to watch the next thing? You know, there has to be a reason to watch the actual
that
show.
I did kind of like that hand reveal, like where Colleen's group, and what was the guy, the leader of that sect?
exactly. Yeah,
the
yeah.
South American guy?
No, the guy from
came back in
Transformers.
Defenders?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, the guy from the guy from Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in
Was he?
he was in
I don't
Transformers too. Anyway,
I take your word
who
for it.
gives a
I have no
shit?
idea.
I had to look it up.
Mark Wahlberg?
Did he play Devastator's balls? Because like I think, yeah,
Anyway,
I
It
almost
was-
just died.
he did motion capture for the scrotum. Yeah,
Snorted water through my nose.
anyway, it was kind of interesting to see like the hand side. They think they're the good guys. That's something that I wish that they did more of, like in Star Wars, because I'm getting a little sidetracked here.
Okay.
But I'm a big fan of the Empire, and like in every Star Wars movie, they just like, oh, Empire's the bad guy. It's like, yeah, but they think they're the good guys. Like,
Right.
I want to see that side.
Yeah.
So
All bad
sorry.
guys think they're good.
I'll bring it
no,
back.
like just wrapping up. Like I think they are course correcting him a bit with
Yeah.
Defenders. I think him being paired to Luke is going to do like really well because he needs that person there to be like,
Yeah.
Danny, shut the fuck up.
That's I want to see a Luke Cage and Iron or Power Man and Iron Fist
Oh,
season.
heroes, just a straight up Heroes for Hire season.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That based off the new comic would be great. The new comic was
yeah.
awesome.
Or even just like more of Danny in Luke Cage season 2,
yeah,
because they're working on that now.
I'd be fine with that. Yeah, but anyway, Mike, Aaron.
But to go from like something everyone will have heard of to something no one will have heard of, this is like a childhood one for me. I feel like
Okay.
this is like one of my earliest memories of being really, really hyped for something and then really, really let down. It's a manga thing.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I talked about Saint Tail in the like childhood episode. That
Okay.
was like a manga I was into.
The one with, like the nun, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay.
She was a Catholic schoolgirl who was a noble thief. Anyway, the same like mangaka who wrote that had a different one, and I think I learned about it like online or something. I was like, oh, she has another one, and like it hasn't been released in the U.S. yet, but like they're translating it, and they're bringing it over. And I don't know how long it was, but you know, when you're 12, it's like, oh my gosh, this is forever. It was probably like 2 months, and it was called Mink. And I was like so excited because I was like, I loved this series and I'm gonna love this thing by the same creator. Like I remember like going to the store to see if it was there and like physically aching because I wanted it so bad. I was like, I just really want to read this series. And it turned out to be, it was like a story about, weirdly, like before Hannah Montana was a show, it was weirdly Hannah Montana. It was a girl who was secretly a pop star and her first name was Mink. And I think she might have like changed her hair color when she performed or something. But she didn't go by a different name. She like her stage name was Mink. And at school she went by Mink. And people commented on the fact that Mink was a really unusual name, but no one put it together that they were the same person. And it was just the stupidest fucking story.
So it's exactly Hannah Montana.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, but it was before Hannah Montana, like,
So
existed.
what you're saying is Disney,
Hannah Montana's a ripoff,
Disney
yeah.
stole something from Japan.
Miley Cyrus.
Yet again.
Yet again.
Miley Cyrus's career is a fucking scam. But, like,
I mean,
that
we all
it
knew
was,
that anyway.
It was just, I don't know how long I even, like, stayed with it for. Maybe, like, you know, the first, like, 2 books or something. But it was just so, like, after all that buildup and, like, wanting it so badly, excuse me, then reading it was just like, oh, like it was the first time I think I realized like, oh, like people who created things that I like can create new things and they will suck. So like it was like a setup for Phantom Menace, really. It was just mentally and emotionally preparing me for
It's
that.
just getting you ready for that disappointment.
Yeah. So I think that happened several times with other manga too. There was a series Fushigi Yugi that I loved and would like wake up at 5:45 before school to like watch the anime of. And they did like a prequel series to that, which also sucked. There's some like manga like that. And again, when I was young and like manga and anime were so scarce, it was kind of like you got what they had in the store. It was like so like, oh, I have to read this, and then like, oh, it's not very good. Well, there's like my $10 monthly allowance gone. On that one book. So
wasted on this trash.
Anyway, that's mine.
What's up, Mike?
So, my first thing is the last Airbender movie.
Ugh.
I was so mad when I saw that piece of shit. I saw it in theaters because the trailers made it look halfway decent, and I was such a big fan of the show, like growing up. Like I remember like binge watching it, like as like whenever it was on, they would have it on in like 3-hour blocks on Nickelodeon, and I would always watch it. And then that movie came and broke my heart.
I think that was another one. I want to say like Suicide Squad, but maybe not that far in advance. That I never saw it because it looked terrible. And it was the same though. I loved the series.
Yeah.
And like when they announced they're doing a movie for it, I was like, yes, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's going to be so good.
Never watch it.
I think I decided like I lost hope for it at the point where the actor who was cast to play Sokka. This is another like weird racial casting thing where they were like, okay, they casted like this white guy, white girl to play Sokka and Katara who are not white.
Yeah.
And the actor said something like, oh, well, don't worry, I like plan on getting a tan before you film. And it was like
the actor that played Sokka,
He's in the Twilight films.
he played
too.
one of like the third-rate vampires in the Twilight movie.
He's the Southern vampire.
so he's like not even good enough to be one of the main vampires in Twilight. Ugh, that's
I
rough.
knew that movie was going to be horrible 10 minutes in when they started calling Aang Ong.
Yeah.
Ong, why? It doesn't make any sense.
All right, first of all, I've never seen any of Last Airbender or Avatar. I've never seen any of Avatar.
You're missing out.
I know.
You
I
are.
hear it's
a
amazing.
Great series, yeah.
And I want to watch it. It's not my thing. But I have seen the movie.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. You took the time you saw the movie, but never watched any of it.
I used to work in a video store, and we would put movies on like before open and after close, just to, like have movies on.
Yeah.
And I remember just standing there with like 3 coworkers, like, why is the majority of this movie told in narration? Like, man, why show something
so
when you could just narrate it and then have the people just be there at the end of the narration?
Because
Yeah.
the problem was that the show was so vast in concept.
Yeah.
They tried to fit an entire season into a 2-hour movie, and it was like a 20-hour season. Like there were so many storylines going on in that first season that they just couldn't do. Like at the end of that movie, they get to the Northern Water Temple, and they cut out entire characters that were in the anime.
Yeah, I think it's one of those you would really have to like pick and choose what you wanted to do because there are so many like side stories. It's like, okay, well, are you gonna like talk about the spirit world stuff? Well, you kind of have to. Are you gonna talk about the Kyoshi warriors? Well, you kind of have to. But I guess you would cut them out and then like, okay, well, are we gonna spend time at the Southern Water Tribe? Or are we gonna spend time at the Northern Water Tribe? Are we going to develop the relationship with Yue? Like, you can't do all of that.
That's the thing, but though they filmed a lot of that stuff and they just cut it. They filmed that whole thing with the Kyoshi warriors. Cut it. They cut out so much stuff.
Well, and you
Is there a director's cut of that movie available?
I hope not.
it's 20 hours long.
I hope that movie never sees the light of day again. My mistake going in is not realizing that it was an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah.
There was also that. I mean, there was also like, I don't know if that was like really in the downslope of his career, but it was definitely
It was
definitely past the peak, and it was very like, I feel like it was
No, it was towards like the bottom.
towards the bottom. Well, it was
It
like
might have been the bottom.
It was a weird, like, why would you choose him for that project?
Right?
Kind of thing.
That's
it was
the
like,
thing.
oh well, he's like the crazy twist guy that does movies without real substance.
Yeah.
Here's a story that doesn't have a crazy twist, but has a lot of like depth and meaning. It's like,
I have a
He was
feeling.
a big enough name at the time.
Yeah.
Still.
But I think he had kids who liked the show,
yeah,
and they started throwing the idea of a movie around. He's like, "Well, I'll direct it for my kids."
yeah.
Or that's
That
Never
never
goes
ends up
well,
poorly.
yeah.
just speculation.
Robert Rodriguez.
But that's just such a it's such a bizarre directing choice. Like
Yeah. That movie is just one of those like just avalanches of
Yeah.
errors. It was just the casting, the
ca-
directing, the
character
writing.
design, and
The character
everything.
design. And it was also at that point in time where everything was starting to get released in 3D. And
Yeah.
so it was like they didn't shoot it for 3D, so it also came out like super, super dark in
Yeah.
the
It's
theaters.
Post-converted,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
They made Aang's tattoos like tribal tattoos and not like the solid blue lines like in the
Did they?
anime.
Ew, gross.
Yeah, like like the arrow
Yeah.
had like all
It's like all, like,
swirls
swirl-
and like air temple logos and shit in it. It was bizarre. It looked like a Hawaiian like.
There's
tribal
some pretty
tattoo.
atrocious CG in that movie now too. That like fucking monkey thing. I remember.
Yeah, I think it was. I think they tried to do Momo.
oh.
Looks pretty atrocious.
I
Like,
don't even remember. Did they do Appa? The
Yeah.
big
I was just
bison.
thinking that. I was like, I don't.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Because
Again,
there's
I've
a
only
lot.
seen like clips and stills from the movie.
There's lots of traveling in that film
Yeah.
with narration over it, and that's how they explain like character development. And
It's just so bizarre.
Well, that's also it's like weird. I mean, I'm sure there are cases of good like journey movies, but it is like that entire series is going from the South Pole to the North Pole.
Yeah.
So it is like that is just going to be a lot of like, oh, they're flying, they're still flying. Like this is entire.
It like
Stand over your
it was just so
flying through
it
the
was
sky.
so weird. Like you said, the casting, like they made Sokka and Katara like white, and all the Fire Nation people were like Indian, like super dark skin.
make sure the bad guys are still.
It was like make all the bad guys brown, make all the heroes white. When
Yeah.
It was like, and like in the show, it is like all the different nations are based off of like different cultures, and
Yeah.
none of them are white. So
Isn't Dev Patel the bad guy? Isn't he?
yeah,
the fire?
he's Zuko.
Yeah. I don't know that, sure. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that-
I just remember like Dev Patel being in the movie.
Yeah, and they got what's the guy's name from Fear the Walking Dead was the Fire Lord.
I don't know his name, but I know the actor.
Yeah,
I know
that
who
was
you're talking
another
about.
weird thing. Like they introduced the Fire Lord like right away,
Yeah,
and in
that is
in the show you don't see him for a while.
no, you don't see him until like maybe season 2, but possibly season
think.
3.
I think it might have just been 3.
Because they showed like the back of his head a lot.
And yeah, you see him in
Yeah.
silhouette and like
I don't,
paintings.
I
but,
don't know
like,
that he was ever like cast and actually appeared in a scene until season 3.
Yeah.
And,
And they got
also-
Mark Hamill.
I was gonna say, and also it's a mistake to cast anyone that Mark Hamill has previously played
Yeah.
because you just can't.
That is always a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like I said, once they started mispronouncing names,
Mm-hmm.
I was out. I wish that I had walked out of the theater and gotten my money back. I
Yeah.
just like the whole movie. I kept hoping, like, oh, maybe it'll get better at this part. Maybe it'll get better at this part. It didn't get better at any parts. So
I'm kind of stuck on my next one because as Erin was talking about the manga that was disappointing to her, I remembered this fucking awful comic that I was
Yeah.
really looking forward to.
Go for it.
Maybe we should do 3 each because I still have another one too.
Do it.
Okay, I'll start with the comic first because it's fresh in my mind right now. Thunderbolts is a pretty like it's a mainstay at Marvel, I think. All right, like,
it's a more recent one, but yeah,
but I mean, like,
I would say it was.
Thunderbolts is the if you're unfamiliar, it is the team of like super villains trying to do like some heroic deed for like.
Well, it
a gang.
depends on which iteration because it's not
Yeah.
always super villains. Sometimes it's like the more violent and
Marvel
like,
heroes,
Yeah,
yeah.
heroes like
I mean, yeah, sometimes it's like villains disguised as bad. Like the original team is like
Yeah.
they were all villains disguised as good guys and
Right.
had like some other nefarious means. More lately, it's been kind of treated as Marvel Suicide Squad.
Gross.
I think the more recent iteration was a mix of both. I think it was led by Bucky, and you had
That's
like
the newest one.
the newest
yeah.
one. Yeah, the newest one was
The
led-
one before that is when I was talking about, and it was they released all the artwork for it, and the team was Red Hulk, Deadpool,
right.
Punisher, Agent Venom, Elektra, and then Red Leader.
I thought Ghost Rider was on there too.
Ghost Rider was on there for a while. Yeah, I
Okay.
think Agent Venom left and they brought Ghost Rider on.
Okay.
And I remember all the cover artwork being like fucking incredible. I think
Yeah.
Kevin Wada might have done the artwork. I could be wrong, but I think Kevin Wada did the artwork for the covers. And that team of characters spoke to 13-year-old me so strongly. I was like, there's no way that book could be bad because it was like the equivalent. I don't know. It looked really cool. It appealed to 13-year-old me. And then I started reading it. And first of all, the first trade, Marvel pisses me off. for
ahead.
trade paperbacks, like for the first volumes, they're like, let's print 20 of these. And then if you don't get it right away, then you'll go on like Amazon to buy it because it's not in a comic shop anymore because all the fucking nerds have bought it.
Damn nerds.
Damn fucking assholes. I hope they're not
You're
listening to
worse.
the Sleepy Nerds podcast. No, then you'll get on Amazon. And I remember the first volume of Thunderbolts being like $55.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Which
I'm,
is bizarre.
I'm like, I'm not paying that for one trade. That I'm like, I'm sure it's gonna be amazing. I'm not gonna pay it. And I waited until I got an Amazon gift card for $25, and it went down to $28, and it said, all right, well, I'm technically only paying $3 for this. Fine. Then I bought it, and then the comic shop that I frequent had it used the next week for like $8. So shame on me, buy local. But the comic just, it's not good.
Yeah.
The first arc I liked for the fact that it had like a Steve Dillon artwork, which R.I.P. Steve Dillon.
Yeah.
But I love his artwork. I've loved it since Preacher.
It's a very unique style.
Really, like Steve Dillon and his extraordinary one face. I like it though. It's a good face. No, it's hard to describe exactly where it went wrong. I think it was so many like cool, like I'm air quoting, like cool, edgy anti-hero characters that don't belong on a team together. And you're like, oh, the comics would be like them, like realizing they could all team up and be on a team. Yeah. And at no point, like the entire comic, they hated each other and were backstabbing each other, but not in like a fun, intriguing way. It was in a way where it's like, okay, nothing could ever progress because someone's always dicking around and like backstabbing the other person. They all hate each other. Like Deadpool, Elektra, and Punisher were in this like weird love triangle because they picked up this really weird Garth Ennis story point from years ago. Where there was an issue of Punisher where he went to go kill someone, and by the time he got there, Elektra had already killed them. Or she was like killing all of his targets before he can get to them. And the end of the comic ends with him like, oh, are you doing something later? And then like they picked up that weird thread for this. So like Punisher and Elektra are fucking, and then Deadpool's super jealous of Punisher because he wants to be with Elektra.
Oh, I was going to say, was Deadpool trying to get with Punisher?
Yeah, or that.
That
He,
makes
he does that now.
That-
I was gonna say,
yeah,
that
that's-
makes more sense than Elektra.
That'd be
Like,
fine.
Yeah.
But like it was just so annoying. And then it did that Marvel bullshit where the next arc they got wrapped up in a
tie-in.
crossover.
Yep.
And it was with the Inhumans shit that was going on, like the Terrigen Mist where it's turned everyone into Inhumans. Whatever that storyline is called, I forget.
Which one? There were several.
The first one.
I don't remember.
Who cares?
They do it so many times. I lost track
Inhumans
of the spot.
suck. Fucking humans. But like that storyline happened.
No argument.
And it was so boring, and like the artwork for the comic just got like, as the like story went on, like each arc got progressively uglier and uglier, and the writing got so poor. And I ordered volume 1 of this comic, and then all the other volumes were cheap, so I ordered all of those as well. So I had all 5 volumes show up at one time. Actually, I lie. I had volumes like 2, 3, 4, and 5 show up, and then volume 1 showed up last. So I was just sitting on these like horrible comics, and I didn't realize it.
Just waiting.
It was
like,
like,
oh, these are going to be great.
Yeah, it was
I
like
can't wait
eating
to
like
read them.
it was like eating something bad, and you didn't realize it until it's like 4 a.m. and then you wake up in like a cold sweat, like running to the bathroom.
What have I done?
Yeah, but it just got so shitty, and like Red Leader is just incredibly boring antagonist, and the second to last arc, they were going to like somewhere in South America, I think, and they got in this temple, and it might have been more Inhuman bullshit, I don't know, but like they all die. And then like Red Hulk like makes a wish or turns back time somehow and brings them all back to life.
Does he
'cause
run
that's
around the world in the opposite direction to spin it backwards?
Because
and turn
that's
back
something
to
the Red
life?
Hulk can do.
No, it's like some alien.
Of course.
Who gives a fuck?
Guys, hold on for a second. Who is Red Hulk?
Thunderbolt Ross.
Thunderbolt Ross is Red Hulk.
Okay, that answered no questions for me.
Betty Ross's
Betty
father.
Ross's father.
Well, yeah, but like, what does a Red Hulk do?
Years and years and years ago, that a storyline called Red Hulk,
Okay.
and the mystery was who is the Red Hulk,
Okay.
and it just ended up being Thunderbolt Ross.
Okay. But is he just like Hulk, but he just happens to be red? Is that the only
And he
difference?
has like he maintains all of his
Yeah, he
intelligence.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, so he doesn't go like psycho like Hulk does.
Okay.
Like
okay.
he knows who he is and what
I was
he's
gonna say,
doing.
like, is this like the different like colors of kryptonite where they all just have like one really weird like
There's-
personality trait?
there's, like, a
You're
lot
not
of, like-
far off.
I'm not current with Marvel comics because
It's for the best.
It's for the best. Like they're just such a dumpster fire now, but there was a while where there was like 8 Hulks running around.
Yep.
There's like a red Hulk and
Is
then
there like
Hulk.
a rainbow?
There's-
Is there a Reggie
okay,
Biv?
Then there's
Hulk
red.
team?
There's red She-Hulk.
Yeah, so there's Hulk, She-Hulk,
feminism.
Red Hulk,
Hashtag
Red
feminism.
She-Hulk, Scar, Son of Hulk,
Abomination.
Abomination,
A-Bomb.
Avom. Who's the blue one?
Are you
Is that
sure?
A-Bomb?
A-Bomb was the blue one. Was that?
I don't
Are you
know.
sure A-Bomb wasn't just
Maybe.
Abomination's DJ
There's
name?
now there's Amadeus Cho, who is a Hulk.
Isn't he the totally awesome Hulk?
Yeah, the totally awesome Hulk.
Hashtag millennials.
And
Hashtag YOLO.
I'm sure there's another Hulk or two running around out there. Oh, Grandmaster is a Hulk.
You know, I really like Amadeus Cho. It's a real bummer they turned him into the Hulk.
Oh,
I
you
like
mean Faux Hulk?
Yeah.
Have they ever done a team up and just called it like a Rainbow Hulk though?
They did an animated show called Hulk and the Agents of Smash.
And Smash was an anagram.
Yep.
That's
of course it
I
was.
can't tell you what it's for.
I was gonna say that was a great title. It would have been better if it wasn't an anagram. Just Agents of Smash. What were we?
God.
Oh, you were talking about Thunderbolt. So does that cover your disappointment of Thunderbolt?
Mostly. I can go on
That-
and on.
that
but
run
yeah,
of it,
That
yeah.
run of it, yeah. What do you got?
Are we back to me? I just thought of one that is going to be a very unpopular opinion, I think, because it's not
Okay.
like generally with the nerd community right
As
now.
are all your opinions.
Yeah, mostly. If anyone out there likes Mink, fight me.
Aaron has some pretty edgy opinions on the last Unicorn, guys.
Yeah. So, no, we're going Zelda with this one.
Okay.
Go on.
You reminded me.
Mike.
Mike tuned in. Mike might be the one to fight me here. You reminded me because you were talking about Thunderbolts like appealing to 13-year-old you. This was like when I want to say it was like 12, 13, 14, that range. And we were waiting for the next Zelda game. And all the stills were coming out. Mike looks ready to fight me already before I even name the game. And it's in the dark, gritty period where everything is darker and grittier than the last. And I'm like, yes, because I'm totally into my teenage angst. And then they're like, no, we're going to go this cel-shaded route and release Wind Waker like that. And I was like, that's the dumbest, ugliest cartoon kitty bullshit. I do not want that in my Zelda game. And that was a terrible game.
I haven't played Wind Waker, so
Really?
I can't fight you on that
Okay,
one.
it was like, well, first of all, I just didn't like the art style. And I feel like now, like, people have sort of come to love it. But it really was just like, oh, this, like, graphics are getting better and
Yeah.
it's so, like, realistic and everything. They're like, no, we're just going to go with the cartoon. And I
That's
was
the
like,
one with the dragon boat, right?
Yeah, the King of Red Lions.
Yeah, I've
And-
seen it.
And a ton of the game was just, it was like the entire world was water and
Yeah.
you travel around on the boat and there are like a few islands. And in they've like remastered the game
Yeah.
and one of the changes that they made is that there's like a sail that it will just go whichever direction you want to go.
Okay.
In the original game, the Wind Waker was like a conductor's baton.
Right.
And you had to play different songs to change the direction of the wind to get the winds going in the direction you wanted to go. And so it was like these huge stretches of water to get to your destination. And you're like, okay, wait, let me figure out which direction I'm going northwest. Now, what's the song that will point the wind in
Yep.
the direction? Now let me stop and let me play that song. And I'm going that way. Okay, but the entrance to the island is actually on the north side. So now I have to change just so I can get in. Or I have to go against the wind and go like 2 miles an hour, just super slowly crawling forward. It was such a bad mechanic to base a game around. And then
So a real, like, no holds barred, adrenaline fueled thrill ride, white knuckler. Yeah.
like, you know what I want to do? I want to make a cartoon character change the direction of the wind with a baton. Yeah.
I tell you what, though, to Nintendo's credit, when they remaster games like that, they make them better. Like I never really played any of the Zelda games growing up because you
What?
know I didn't have a Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
And when I did, I only had like Super Mario 64 and a couple other games. But I'm glad because I played Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask for the first time recently.
Great games.
If I had played those as a kid, I never would have finished them.
Yeah.
There's way too much stuff to do in those games that without the help of the internet or a guide, I never would have been able to finish. So
Here's another thing about Wind Waker. and actually, before I get to that, this is a part of like what I was complaining about before. Like my sister played those games and I watched her play them. That was probably to my benefit because it was, if I was 13, she would have been 19. So she could like, for the most part, get through them and everything.
Right.
And like when we were playing like Ocarina of Time, I was probably like 8 and she was like 14, 15. What the fuck was I going to say?
I don't know.
Wind Waker spawned, like, we still make this joke to each other, my sister and I. There's this one part where, like, okay, there was an island. It was like a caldera, I think that's the word. It was like a mountain with a hole in it, and you had to get inside it somehow, but you couldn't climb it. And we were just like, how do you get in there? Like, and we're like trying to figure it out. And there was internet, but there wasn't, we were like,
no game guides.
Yeah. We're, trying to figure this out. And we like, and like Zelda logic is such that we came up with this plan. We're like, okay, we need the fire arrows. To get to the fire arrows, you have to go to the fire island. Well, okay, you go to the fire island, you can't get in. Okay, we need the ice arrows to freeze the fire island. So how do we get that? Okay, we have to go to the ice island, but you can't get into the ice island without the iron boots. So we like had this thing where we're like, okay, we have to go to this place to get the iron boots, to go to the ice island, to go to the fire island, to get the fire arrows to get inside this thing. And then I think we did just like look it up online. We finally found a thing, and it was like, oh no, you just play a song and teleport into it. We're like, what the fuck is
That's
good old Nintendo.
But that's
how would you ever do that unless you just were like playing all the warping songs and we're suddenly like,
hope for the best.
yeah, why did I warp into the middle of this one? I have no other reason to try and go here. It was so frustrating.
That's Zelda for you. Like, they set it up so you can't do harder things before you.
Well, yeah, and there are so many
things.
puzzles like that that it is like, do this to, go A to B to C to D to E. You can't just go to E.
Yeah.
So,
Ocarina of Time is exactly like that.
Yeah, we totally thought that plan made sense until we were like, oh, you just play this one song. So I just have like almost no good memories of that game. It was just a lot of like bad mechanics, a lot of like collecting things with no real point. I didn't like the art style. Zelda was like a badass pirate princess, and then she
Tetra.
Yeah, and then she put on a dress and immediately became useless. It was Tetra, yeah. And like it was just like, who cares? So that was another, and it was another one of those like, I love Zelda. At that point, I'd loved everything I'd played up to that game, and then it was like that happened, and I was like, oh.
They can't all be winners.
Yeah. And again, a lot of people love that game now, so.
I have to try it. So my thing, kind of playing off of Kyle's disappointment with Thunderbolts, my next
We all
disappointment
got a lot from that one.
is the current state of Marvel Comics as a whole.
Okay.
Because
folks, buckle in for the next 3 hours.
This is our first marathon podcast.
This is just the comic side, not the movies, not the shows.
Okay, but just the comics.
Just the comics. But like you were saying, like Marvel is just in such a downward spiral these days. Like it's rough. Like perfect example. Like you said, you were drawn to Thunderbolts because of the cover art, and then when you actually read it, it was a totally different art. They do that every book. Every single book has a different cover artist than the actual interior artist. And they do it to try to draw people in, be like, oh, that art looks amazing. I'm going to read it, because people expect to see the art on the cover as the same in the inside. And then so like you go read Amazing Spider-Man where it's got an Alex Ross cover, and you turn the first page and Spider-Man's a stick figure. It's like
I was just thinking, is Alex Ross still doing stuff?
Covers.
Yeah,
That's
just
it.
covers.
Just covers.
I love him so much. I wish he did more.
Is he not doing Astro City stuff anymore?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe. But
I'm gonna bing it.
Mostly just see him on Marvel covers.
Yeah.
But like their storylines are horrible. The art is horrible. Like they can't retain talent. Like they can't retain good talent, and the people that they have like writing and doing the art is just garbage. Like it's so bad.
Most recent Marvel great idea at Marvel. Hey guys, so imagine all gather around a table. Like, listen, America's in a pretty bad spot right now. Lots of, depression,
going
lots of
with this.
disappointment. People are divided. Lots of rage. People feeling disenfranchised. I think I know what we need to do. We need to make Captain America a fucking Nazi.
Yep.
Fuck you, Marvel, man.
It's so
Like,
bad.
so bad. And spoilers for by the time this podcast comes out, I'm sure a 7-month storyline ended forever ago. But I guess they're okay. So Red Skull used the Cosmic Cube.
Yeah.
To make Captain America Nazi, but then it turns out that he was always a Nazi, and the Allies just used the Cosmic Cube to turn him into a good guy, and then the Cosmic Cube was a little girl named Kubik or something.
Kobik, yeah.
Kobik. Oh fuck, who cares?
So
Kubert.
Kubert.
And then
Kubert is
and then
Captain America?
There's a part of Secret Empire where they're Captain America's in the woods. It's Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
And he runs into Bucky and Falcon, I think. And then it's all that shit's just in Captain America's mind. Or no, it's in Kobik's mind. And then Kobik makes a new Captain America based on the memory of the good Captain America to fight Nazi Captain America. So is the current Captain America just a construct of a little girl who's actually a cosmic cube?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who signed off on that shit?
I mean, I feel
It's a good question.
I feel like it was an incredibly stupid storyline to begin with. I'm glad that they, for the most part, put it back. I feel like this is just one of those things that is going to be looked back on like Silver Age Superman.
Is it Nick Spencer? Is Nick Spencer the asshole that turned Captain America Nazi?
Yeah.
And Nick Spencer, go fuck yourself.
You know what annoys me
What
about...
if he is one of our Juggalo listeners, Kyle?
We don't want you.
Then all right, then whoop whoop, go fuck yourself.
You know, one of the things that annoys me most about that series is that every issue has a different fucking artist.
Yeah.
None of the art is consistent.
That's Marvel past decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then they announce an event.
Yep.
They can't keep up with the event.
Yep.
I think
The event gets delayed.
Secret Empire, wasn't Secret Empire the first event in the past 6 years to finish in the same year it started?
I think so.
I think that's
Secret Wars took place over 3 different years.
Mm-hmm.
It started in 2015, ran throughout 2016, and I think ended early 2017. Or maybe it was the other way around. It was 2014, 2015, and 2016. Either way,
The
a
frustrating thing
long
about
time for a shit story.
the frustrating thing about Secret Wars, and it was just DC had the same idea coincidentally,
Convergence, yeah.
coincidentally at the same time, they had the same idea. They brought all these interesting concepts back.
Yep.
And then immediately they were man, wasn't this cool? All right, they're dead.
Yeah. They brought all these cool ideas together and then just didn't deliver. That's their MO.
I feel like the entire point of Secret Wars was just to get Miles Morales into the 616.
Absolutely. When they could have done it so many other ways.
And they brought him over and Maker over, which is so
They
fucking
merged
weird.
the 2 universes.
Yeah,
So
and
now technically there are 2. There's no 616 and 1610.
I don't know what the fuck it's called now. Who cares?
The whole universe, but now there's
just
2 Miles
777.
Moraleses in the universe.
Isn't one of them evil or some shit?
I haven't
Who
read that
cares?
one yet.
I think at
But,
the end of the original Spider-Man miniseries,
which
it's
was,
Peter.
I like that.
Yeah,
It was good.
Peter Parker is I wonder if there's some Miles Morales, and he's oh my god. And then the series ends.
Yeah, and now they're doing
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2. But anyway, but Marvel is famous for putting things out and not delivering, and then also putting things out and then just waiting years to touch on them again. The whole Thor, Odin's son, he lost his worthiness. Total bullshit, by the way. Back in the original Sin storyline, back in 2012, 2013.
Maybe. Yeah.
They just touched on it again this past
Yeah.
this past year, and he's only unworthy.
He's you suck. And that was the secret.
He's unworthy because he doesn't think himself worthy. What the fuck does that even mean?
What kind of One Direction, you don't know you're beautiful, that's what makes you beautiful?
That is
bullshit
the perfect.
is that?
That is the perfect way to describe it.
someone negged Thor.
He just looked in an unflattering store mirror and was oh God, is that what I look like? And that knocked him down, so he was no longer a
Yeah.
superhero.
He is no longer worthy to carry the hammer because his self-confidence is in the toilet.
The next issue is like him like sitting at the foot of his bed just eating like
Yes,
SpaghettiOs
the-
and listening to Lionel Richie in the dark.
The next storyline is going to be Estella gets her groove back.
It's just so-
like remake montage of Thor getting his confidence back, like getting a makeover
So
and learning about
bad.
positive body image and going online.
It's just everyone being able to pick up Mjolnir except him. It's like power packs just like thrown in like, look how fucking easy it is to throw this hammer, dude.
You know who fucking picked it up and eventually? One of the Warriors 3, the fat guy.
Oh,
What's his name?
Volstagg?
Yeah, Volstagg. He's the one who ends up picking. No, I'm sorry.
Speaking of body image,
He
the fat
picks up.
guy.
Well,
Hashtag yes, all Volstags.
he picks up the ultimate Thor hammer, like that axe hammer kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Because now because they merged universes,
So that's hanging around.
that
Yeah.
hammer is in the main universe, and Thor goes on a 5-issue adventure with Beta Ray Bill to see if he's worthy to pick it up, which he's not.
You know,
And
okay.
then Volstagg comes and takes it.
I'm gonna merge points. I'm gonna talk just to go over that. Marvel and DC have the same problem with like really interesting side characters. Like I don't really care about like whatever like Captain America and Thor and Iron Man and like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. Like, I don't give a shit what they're doing. Like there's so many interesting like Moon Knight and like Vision
and Moon Knight.
and yeah. And, like, but no, even like, I know
And
the,
you know Moon Knight?
I know the face you're about to give me, but even like the new Howard the Duck comic, which is like funny, you know, it's like it's Chip Zdarsky, it's really good. But there's all these interesting side characters, and like DC is doing a new Mr. Miracle comic,
Yep.
and
Really good from what I hear.
yeah, and they're so interesting. But Marvel and DC, like they don't give a fuck about those characters. Like they're doing really interesting stuff, and I guess to their credit, they're kind of like letting those stories happen,
Yeah.
and letting them like tell a short story at least. But
DC's a little better about it though, because when they do series about side characters, they're usually limited, so they're a full
Yeah.
story, a full self-contained story. When Marvel does it, they put them out as full series, and when
And
they don't
cancel
sell
them,
well,
yeah.
they cancel them after 6 issues.
Again, to DC's credit, like New 52, a lot of people complained about, but like New 52 gave us like an awesome Animal Man run, an awesome Swamp Thing run. Like it gave us like a lot of Scott Snyder shit, a lot
Yeah.
of like Jeff Lemire.
Yeah,
which is, like,
awesome
fucking
stuff.
Great. Like anyway,
But like,
I stopped listening at Howard the Duck.
don't worry, I stopped listening. Welcome to the Sleepy Nerds podcast. I'm Aaron.
Rude. Cut
but
that.
yeah, I think don't get that.
Double it.
But I think
Add echo to everything. Add echo and reverb to all of my statements.
Could everything I say be underlined with a beatbox, please?
anyway, but I think for like the Marvel, like I feel like the biggest downfall for them was when they started doing all these events, these event books. Like it started with Civil War. Civil War was big, and that was fine. And then after that, they just started doing too many. And then they're doing too many big events. They couldn't deliver. They started overlapping. They started getting delayed. Like in 2016, Marvel had, in the first quarter of 2016, maybe first half, they had 5 major events go on. They had the tail end of Secret Wars. They had Civil War 2. They had the Death of X. They had Inhumans versus X-Men. They had the Apocalypse Wars, which was a shitty crossover. Like, it was just such garbage. Like, Civil War 2 was god-awful. It was basically Minority Report. I'm sorry. It started out as Minority Report and then just crashed and burned into, like, a volcano. It was
Yeah, Civil War 2 is that great comic where that really popular hot property that just got a movie starring Brie Larson and Captain Marvel, and like, can we ruin her character?
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. They said, "How can we make her worse than Iron Man?"
Yeah.
So I didn't think they could do it. They did it in spades.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go through like some really quick little like disappointments because
Wasn't that? Didn't you just have one?
I have multiple. I've been like writing as they come into my mind. I like just do some like rapid fire disappointments. First one for me, Captain Phasma.
Yeah.
And
As of right now.
As of right now.
I'm glad they're putting more of her
Yes.
out.
I'm very happy that she's gonna be back.
She's
Cap-
getting her own comic book. and her own novel.
And yeah, she has a book.
Yep, the
I'm excited to read it.
Comic book just started coming out. Issue 2 came out.
I'm gonna
Way
first
to
like
date us.
yeah.
Shut up.
I really, really like Gwendolyn Christie.
Yep.
She's one of my favorite parts of Game of Thrones. Awesome actress. Captain Phasma looked fucking cool.
Yep.
And that's the one thing that snagged me, like, Force Awakens and that first trailer and Captain Phasma with, like, the chrome armor.
Yep.
I'm like, man, like, Captain Marketing, she won.
Yeah.
I bought the Black Series figure. I bought the Funko Pop. I bought, like, a Pez dispenser. There's, like, a Toys R Us exclusive, like, 12-inch figure, and I bought it.
So did you see Force Awakens and then just go home and throw all those in the trash? Or
I sold the 12-inch figure, the Pez dispenser, and I had 2 Funko Pops, and I sold one of them.
how much did you get for the Pez dispenser?
I got $5.
Okay.
No, it's just like, it's a bummer.
She was a wasted potential character.
She was. They got a really awesome actress.
Yep.
And first of all, we're going to do a Star Wars episode. I'm going to defend Force Awakens, because now, like, the cool
Don't
new
get
thing...
into that. Stay with
I know,
Captain
I
Phasma.
am. The cool new thing is to, like, hate on Force Awakens, but some of the things they did was, like, they did waste some characters.
Yep.
Like, Max von Sydow was in the movie. Why? He completely wasted. The only good thing that happened was he got a Lego figurine out
Kyle,
of it. He got a
stay
Lego.
with
Max
Captain
von Sydow.
Phasma is who we're talking about, for God's sake.
In the beginning of Force
Okay,
Awakens.
okay. I know you're talking about that. That's
Yeah.
what I thought. But no, I'm like, I think that was their plan for her the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, I think they said that she's gonna have a much bigger role in Last Jedi. I think that was always the plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Like, 'cause she was so cool, and then she was like a joke character almost, but then words like into the trash compactor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, she existed so they could, like, set up a joke.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. But she's cool, and she looked really neat, and I'm really bummed. I don't want her to become, like, the new Boba Fett, where it's like everyone loves Boba Fett. It's like, oh, why? It's like, well, he's cool looking. He has
Yeah.
a jetpack, and yeah, what about all that stuff he did? They're like, oh, where he, like, escaped the Sarlacc pit, and they're like, no, not the expanded universe. It doesn't exist anymore because
Yeah.
all that's in the trash. What did he do in the movies? And they're
Well.
like, oh, well, he said some cool stuff, and then he did, like, no. Before George Lucas, like, digitally reinserted him into other shot, like, what did he do?
He was on the bridge of a Star Destroyer. He tracked the Millennium Falcon.
He stood next to your favorite character,
He
Kyle.
fought Luke for a little bit.
Bosk, the best Star Wars character.
He fought Luke for a little bit, and then he got hit with the
He
stick.
promised.
And
He promised no more incinerations.
he flew.
Did
in-
he follow through on that promise?
Yes,
He did, because
as far as we know.
Boba Fett president.
He flew into a sail barge and landed in a snake pit.
Sarlacc pit.
Snake.
Pit.
Snake.
For the layman, it's a giant snake pit.
It's a giant antlion for the layman.
What?
That's what it is. A sarlacc? It's not a snake.
It's got the snake. Shut up. Go on.
Why do I shut up?
If anything, it's a graboid from Tremors.
All right, I'll accept that comparison.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that comparison is okay, but an
Yes.
antlion, which is a real thing that makes the pit like that?
Have you seen Tremors?
No.
Then your point's invalid.
Have you seen an antlion?
I own 5 of them, thank you.
All right,
I will
all right,
fight everyone in this room.
all right. Let's bring it back. Kyle, go.
Are we? No, Kyle,
No,
stop
was
going.
Kyle-
No, your turn. Aaron,
Kyle.
Aaron, quick. What's your disappointment?
A bunch of TV shows that I like that got canceled after one season and had cliffhangers. For example, the show Forever with the guy who played Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, the guy that had, like, his name's just vowels.
Yeah, his name is Ian, but it's spelled with like 18 vowels.
Is he Welsh?
Yeah, he's Welsh.
Okay. Yeah.
It lasted one season. It was about a doctor who like couldn't die. Every time he died, he came back to life naked in a nearby body of water.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It was a really compelling, and he had like an adopted son who was like a super old guy because he didn't age either. So he adopted a son in like during World War I, I think. And so like his son was this like guy in his 70s, and it was really interesting. And the bad guy was Owen from Torchwood, who is also a really good. He was a good villain. It was really good, and they wrapped up that storyline. He ended up because he was like. The villain was another guy who couldn't die, and they didn't know like how he got this power or anything, or like what did it.
He was a Highlander.
Yeah, and then it's like he beat the bad guy, but then it got canceled. There is another. I have like a lot of like sci-fi
List him.
TV
Go.
series that lasted one season. I think did we talk about them on podcast, or were we just talking on our own about Flash Forward?
That was on our own. Flash forward.
Yeah, that show Flash Forward. I think it also only lasted one season. And
John Cho had to move on to bigger and better Harold and Kumar movies.
it was like everyone in the world experienced a vision of themselves. I feel like it was like 9 months in the future or something, or maybe it was like a full year. And it was like, and then they like went back to normal, and it was like dealing with the consequences of that. And so some people like didn't get visions, and so they're like, shit, am I going to be dead in 9 months?
Yeah.
And then like half the world was like asleep, so they didn't get, like, everyone in China just didn't get them. And then they were like, oh, well, like, can we change the future? Can we not? It got canceled after one season. There is this show called Journeyman that was super, super interesting. And it was this guy just developed this power. He would go back in time, just him. He would disappear from wherever he was, and he would appear in some time period, and then he'd like sort of jump back and forth between the present and this same time period. And it was kind of Quantum Leap-esque, but he went back and forth. And it was like he had some kind of mission to complete with the people he was going back to. So like he would go back and like meet a girl like in her childhood, and then he'd go back to the present, then he'd go back and she'd be like a teenager. And it was like there was something he had to like teach her or help her figure out. And there was one episode where like he was boarding a plane, like he was going somewhere with his family, and then he jumped back to a plane in like the 70s, and then it caused this huge incident because he disappeared from a plane in 2014 or whatever. So like TSA was freaking out, and he got like taken in by all these like federal agents. It was a really interesting series with a lot of potential. Again, it was like, oh, what's causing these powers? What's going on? Cancel after one season. So
How many of those aired on Fox?
I have no idea.
All of them.
That might have been Fox. Also, Journeyman had a really, really good theme song
Yeah?
that was set to footage of like pigeons flying backwards.
How'd it go?
I have it
No.
on my phone.
Now, how'd it go?
I had it on my phone. I'll play it for you.
You can't play it on the podcast.
All right.
It went da da la la da 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 la la da 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 da. That was it, and it just kept going up.
Sidebar. How long do you think it will take before the Orville gets canceled? On Fox.
It depends on if it's good or not.
7 episodes.
You think?
Really?
Well,
It's on Fox.
It's Seth MacFarlane.
He's got a good relationship with Fox.
He does.
Yeah.
Uh,
How long did Cleveland
9
show run?
episodes.
2 seasons?
Cleveland show is like
It's still
it was
going,
more-
isn't it?
No,
No,
that's
it got
canceled.
canceled.
He's back on Family Guy now.
Oh, I didn't know even left.
I mean, I haven't watched either like
No.
in forever. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Go
So
ahead.
those are the ones off the top of my head. There is clearly like, I don't know if I have like, well, I know what you're gonna say. I was gonna say if I had a bad taste in TV shows, shut up, Kyle. Or if I just have like a taste in shows that like don't get good ratings or what it is, but like there's a lot of specifically like sci-fi like themed shows or shows with a sci-fi element that I really enjoy that then just immediately get canceled with no wrap up, and it's super frustrating to me.
What are the chances you were the only person ever
See those shows?
to watch The Journeyman? I've never heard of that.
Really?
Yeah. Was that recent? Was that like
No,
in the 90s?
it was no. It was like mid 2000s. I feel like it was when I was in high school. Hold on, I'll bing it. It like
Because I've heard of the other one you were talking about with the guy from
forever.
Fantastic
Well, that
Four.
was that
I've
was
seen
like
I've seen one episode of that.
that was like last season or the season before. That wasn't long ago. Hold on, I'll look up Journeyman when that was on. I feel like it was like 2006 or 7.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Yeah. I'll move on to Mike.
Okay, so mine is fucking Aliens Colonial Marines.
Oh yeah.
What?
The probably
game, huh?
the worst fucking video game I've ever played in my life. So, like, it was supposed to tie into Aliens. Like, you play as a colonial marine.
2007 was Journeyman.
You play as a colonial marine, and you're going to investigate, just like the movie. You're going to investigate this colony, and you find out it's been overrun by xenomorphs. And it looked so cool in the trailer.
I remember the trailer.
And
That looked
then you get to the game, and none of what was in the trailer was in the game. I made it 20 minutes in. I played with my brother co-op. There were so many glitches and bugs, and like things clipping through walls, and aliens just appearing in front of your face.
It's
that
almost like the marketing team lied to you to get you to spend money on
Yeah.
that game.
Who
I
would do such a thing?
20 minutes in, maybe half an hour, I turned off the Xbox, took the disc out, got in my car, went back to GameStop and said, I want my money back. This,
Who released that game?
I don't even know. It was horrible.
You reminded me of a video game one. Do you mind if I like jump off
No,
of that real
go
quick?
for it.
The Prince of Persia series. I played Sands of Time, like super good game, and then like I just missed the second one coming out. I guess I just never played it, and then the third one came out, and it was also really good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, like this was actually like for a sequel game, this was really good. I'm going to go back, and I got like a used copy of the second one, and the second one was like they set it to all this like hard rock emo music, and it reminded me because I was like, have I ever like just stopped playing a video game? It was like I got to like the third cutscene maybe, and was just like, no, I'm not doing this.
I'm gonna blow your mind right now.
Go for it.
Sega.
Now that you say it, it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
It was Sega. Was it? Who was
The
the?
developer Gearbox
Right,
Software,
right.
Timegate Studios, Demiurge Studios, Nerve Software. Wait, there's more. This is just like when you're watching a movie and like the
All
writing
the production
credits are coming
yeah.
on, and like 6 people go by, and you're like, oh no.
Did you still have that pulled up? Can
Yeah.
you tell me what review that fucking piece of trash got?
Yeah.
Like I said, there was a scene in the trailer where it shows Colonial Marines at the end of a hallway with like a machine gun turret, and the Xenomorphs are coming running out of the hallway, and they're just blasting down the hallway. Not in the game at all.
IGN 4.5 out of 10. I guess they didn't get the payment in time. 43% Metacritic, 48% PC Gamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think
I remember the trailers had been super fucking cool.
it looked really cool. That's why I got it. And I remember the exact spot my brother and I stopped playing. We were in this big hangar, and there was one of the shuttles, and like all the Marines are yelling, "We got to set up a perimeter. We can't let these things come at us." And there's just like 4 crates stacked, and that's your defensive line. And aliens just start appearing out of nowhere. Like they're literally coming out of not a hole in the wall. They're coming through the
phasing
actual
through the
wall, just appearing in front of your face, dropping out of the ceiling, coming up from the ground. And like they weren't hard. Like all I had was a pulse rifle, and I just go just like spraying, just going back and forth. And anytime I hit them, dude, it just drop to the ground. Like and we were on a hard difficulty. It's not like we were on like basic or anything like that. Like I would expect the Xenomorph to take more than like a bullet or two to die. It was just so. It was.
they're pretty
It was-
fragile, an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Glass.
I don't know.
Xenomorphs.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Like the textures were bad. The everything about the game was bad. like I said, I've never just stopped a game and brought it back to the store like I did with that piece of shit.
All right, my final one. I promise. And it's short, and there's 2 parts to it because I did some research while I was looking this up.
Okay.
The Animorphs book series.
Okay.
I fucking ate that shit up. I loved those books. And they'd release like 2 of them at the same time every month.
Yep.
And like, I wouldn't even finish a book and then start. I'd like read them like concurrently. I made no sense.
I do that.
But no, I really liked and I'm sure if I read them now, it'd be like unreadable. But and I really liked the characters. I liked the plot a lot. Like my teen angst really liked some of the dramatization. Like fucking, I think it was like one
I
of
feel
them.
like that's the core of a lot of these disappointment things. Is like it really appealed to me when I was an
A
angsty
teenager.
teenager, and then somehow it didn't hold up to scrutiny later as an adult.
Weird.
Totally bizarre.
I can't figure it
Yeah,
out.
inexplicable.
On the way home, I'm gonna listen to some Korn albums. They're really gonna.
Didn't they do a TV show for Animorphs?
For Korn.
Yeah, it was like Corn.
Corn did an Animorphs
Hey
TV show.
kids, it's the
They did-
Corn animated
Yeah,
half.
no, Animorphs had a Nickelodeon TV show.
It did with Sean Astin. Yeah, Sean
I
Astin,
watched
yeah.
the TV show, but I never read the books.
I watched the TV show.
My
Anyway.
sister, my
Yeah.
sister read
Where,
them.
So
where
the-
did the disappointment
Okay,
come in?
the disappointment was the final book. Like, and I had all like the Megamorphs books and like the Choose Your Own Adventure and like the like special edition books that explained like side characters and all the backstory, and I loved it. And they did like a lot of really good world building. The final book, they randomly kill one of the Animorphs for no reason. It's Rachel that dies, I believe.
Not Rachel.
Yeah.
Oh no!
And then it like does like a it does like a fast forward maybe, And it's like, yeah, now they're going into this final battle, and then it ends. And then like you flip a few pages, and then there's a note from the author, K.A. Applegate, and she's like, "Hey guys, well, that's probably disappointing, but I figured they'd go out like they came in fighting, and you could just kind of like make up whatever you think, whatever." So fucking let down. I don't even know how old I was when
that
it
shit
ended.
happens.
And then I was researching this so I can complain about it on the podcast.
Sure.
That bitch. Animorphs 25 through 52 were ghostwritten.
What?
She provided
What a hack.
She provided a paragraph of description. But this is what James Patterson does too, by the way.
I believe that.
Yeah. She provided a paragraph of description, and then other writers would come in and write the book, and then she would go through and kind of like edit it so like the characters sounded how she wanted them to sound. Or like she can keep it all kind of like, oh, I remembered that I want this to happen. Okay. First of all, I'm realistic and I realize this probably happens with like a lot of like young adult book series.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, at that
it's
point,
just-
though, why wouldn't you just turn it over, make it, like Nancy Drew Hardy Boys that's just ghostwritten forever? Why would you like come back and end it?
Anyway.
I mean, at the rate
So-
that they put those books out,
Exactly.
it makes
They
sense.
they put them out at like such a fast rate that I'm, realistically, sure. But as someone who grew up with these books and was like, hey, Applegate, like really kind of like wrote my childhood.
Yeah.
Her and like R.L. Stein were like my two people. And I'm not even gonna read. I'm not gonna research that motherfucker to see if he goes through it. Because R.L. Stein.
I'm gonna look it up and
No,
not
no,
tell
no.
you.
Don't,
I won't
Aaron.
tell you. I'm gonna look it up. I
No,
never read
because I'll see your
Goosebumps
face.
either.
I'll see it. Put your goddamn phone away, Aaron.
I'm not doing it. I'm
I'll
picking
smack
it.
it out of your hand. But
Anyway.
to realize that like those books were ghostwritten, like shattered what was left of my childhood memories. Like,
I hate when they do that shit. I hate when they like, oh, you guys make up your own ending. No, I want the actual
things
ending.
that killed my childhood: Han Solo dying, Rocky getting cancer, finding out K.A. Applegate ghost wrote half the Animorph series.
Aaron, do you have another
You
one?
broke my heart, K.A. Applegate.
I don't know. I don't want to end on another like super obscure one that no one's gonna care about but me.
Well,
so.
run it by us and we'll tell you. What is it?
No.
What is it? We're your friends. Give us a shot.
Kyle, you're setting this up so nicely. I know you're just going to be mean to me.
I'm not going to.
No, it was more anime stuff.
No one gives a shit about that.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
You heard her. It's fine.
All right. Well, then in that case, I have one last one too. It's kind of again, you reminded me of it when you brought up like shitty endings to book series. So there was, and this was pre Star Wars Expanded Universe Eradication. There was a series of books focused on the Republic Commandos, which were like the elite clone trooper squads, like that. It was like 4-man teams. They were bred together, raised together. Like they were like the SEAL Team 6 of like the clone army. And they had a really good series. Like it started off as Republic Commando, and there were like 3 or 4 books, like pre-Empire, and then they did one which was like basically their response to Order 66, because like one of the elite clone troopers on his first mission got separated, and he had to locate a Padawan, and then like they fell in love and had a child, and like when it came to Order 66. He was trying to fight his programming to save her because she was a Jedi. She was going to get killed. And then, spoiler alert, she does get killed. So, and then the next like book or 2 after that, they become Imperial Commandos. So like now they're working for the Empire. But it ends like on such a cliffhanger. And there was no last book. I'm like, no. Like I even emailed the writer. I'm like, please, for the love of God, tell me there's going to be a final Imperial Commando book. And she's like, sorry, there was a problem with the Lucas books. I'm like, no.
Did you ask her how she would have ended it?
No.
Kyle, you know what that reminds me of that you should talk about is that one song, the cover. Really? You just told this story yesterday.
Anyway, I was so mad.
Oh,
So
oh God! Oh no! All right. Oh, this episode is going off the rails.
I know.
It's all right. It's okay.
I
That's
can't believe
good.
this didn't make your list.
Let me just wrap up real
Okay,
quick.
yeah, wrap up your thing.
I was very angry that day when I found out that there was going to be no last Imperial Commando book.
I'd be furious.
Go ahead.
There is an amazing classic movie. It shaped who I was as a young man.
Oh, God.
The name of the movie was Biodome. It starred Pauly
you.
Shore and Stephen Baldwin
Not a good
I am
and
aware.
Kylie Minogue.
I'm aware of this movie.
Everyone in the room is aware of the movie and wishes that they weren't.
Yep.
No, the movie's great.
Anyway,
About a little bit through the movie is where Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin take over the Biodome, and they're throwing like a rager essentially in the Biodome. And the band that is playing at the party is a band called Wax. They were really famous in the 90s for a song called California. It had a Spike Jonas directed music video with a guy on fire running in slow motion. It was very famous at the time. So I really like the band Wax. No one else even gives a shit about it. No one knows who this band is.
never heard of him in my life.
But in the party scene, they do a cover of He's a Whore by Cheap Trick. And I like that song anyway. I like Cheap Trick. I like that song. But the cover's great. And there's only like maybe 35 to 40 seconds of it. And
In the movie.
In the movie, yeah. Featured in the movie. And it's not on the soundtrack. So a few years ago, the lead singer of Wax started a YouTube channel and put all the stuff on there. And that wasn't on there. So I emailed him. And I'm like, hey, is there any chance there's like the rest of that song? He goes, oh, sorry, man. We only recorded that 40 seconds.
Why?
Yeah, like
Why
if you
would you
recorded
only-
40
You
seconds of a cover?
Why-
Do you know why, Mike?
Why?
Do you know why,
Just to
Aaron?
piss you off.
Just to fuck my life up.
But that doesn't make any sense. Why would you record only 40 seconds of a song?
Yeah.
Like when you don't know how much of it they planned on using? Like
I don't know.
like usually
Yeah.
when they
or like were the producers like, look, we need you to record like for this scene where they're throwing this party, but like only record 40 seconds of the song.
and that's so
Don't
awkward.
give us an entire
like
song.
we need 40 seconds right in the middle of the song.
Yeah.
That's just
no.
so
It was the
bizarre.
very beginning of the song.
Oh, was it?
And it cuts off right after like the build up and then the main like release of like the first chorus.
Yeah.
And then it's just over.
That's so bizarre.
And it pisses me off because it's such a good cover. I have the first 40 seconds downloaded onto my iPod. And it's so good.
You have that. I have the Journeyman theme song.
Yeah.
What obscure music that only you like do you have on your phone, Mike?
a lot of Star Wars
How many
soundtracks.
How many Halo OSTs do you have downloaded?
all of them.
All of them. Yeah.
I think I have all of the Halo soundtracks, all of the Assassin's Creed soundtracks, and every Star Wars video game soundtrack downloaded on this laptop.
Good.
I only have the sound effects from Shadow of the Empire downloaded.
Just
I hope you.
I
I
have.
hope you mean wait. I hope you mean that's your entire like iPod's library. Is
Yeah.
that 40-second cover and then sound effects?
Yeah, it's just guys yelling in blaster
It's
shots.
just the Wampa getting like, yeah.
Yeah,
Wilhelm scream.
it's a Wilhelm scream. The sound of stormtrooper armor when they run, and then just blaster bolts.
Yeah. We're going to wrap up with a new segment. Does it have a name, or are we just calling it exactly what it is?
I thought we were just gonna call it exactly what it is.
Okay, we're calling it exactly what it is. It's called Defend a Terrible Thing You Love. We're each going to have a brief moment to talk about something that we unironically adore that is not popular. Who would like to start?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Batman versus Superman. I know a lot of people do not like it. I do not care.
Do you genuinely like it? I feel like
Listen.
there's a lot of people who are like, it's bad, but it has like Ben Affleck is a good Batman, or it has some redeeming qualities. You actually like it?
I like it. I can see its flaws and I can see the criticisms people have with it, and I acknowledge them. But I still like the movie for what it is as a whole and for what it brings to at least the DC universe. Like, I've been
And
waiting.
What is that exactly?
It's just the start of their plan. Like, I've been waiting to see Batman and Superman on screen together for so long.
Yeah.
Like when did I Am Legend come out? 2007, 2008?
2008, I want to say.
Yeah.
Even back then, they had teasers for
poster,
a
yeah.
Superman Batman
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
In Times Square, there was a big
remember
fucking
that.
billboard And I'm like, oh my god, it's coming.
Do you think they were trying to tell us that it would be more preferable for vampires to destroy the entire population of the human Earth?
Well, no, because if you look at that poster that they have in there, that's the logo for like the Superman,
like Ed McGuinness,
the
Jeff
Superman
Loeb,
Batman comic book where they're working together. I'm like, oh my god, I'm finally going to see Batman and Superman together.
Yeah.
Because if in previous movies and like previous media, they've referenced each other so many times. Like in the George Clooney movie, as bad as it was, there's a line where he says, "See, this is why Superman works alone." It's like, so they know they exist.
Yeah, they both at least
they
exist
acknowledge
at the same
the existence of one another, but you never see them on screen together. And I think, like, I finally get that in Batman versus Superman. I think that they went about it in a very strange way. Making them fight each other right off the bat was a weird choice.
Yeah.
But I still like the movie. And the extended cut of the movie is better than the theatrical version. Like, it fills in a lot of the plot holes from the theater version. Like, so I liked it better. But I like the movie. Because, like, it's got some pretty cool action sequences. Like, you know, like you said, Ben Affleck is a really good Batman. I like him as Batman and as Bruce Wayne.
I'll agree with that.
It introduces us to Wonder Woman, and like it starts setting up the Justice League stuff, which is awesome. I still feel like if it wasn't for that movie, we wouldn't have the Wonder Woman movie that just came out. We wouldn't have Justice League and all this other stuff that's coming out. So it set up a lot of stuff.
In the spirit of the segment, I guess I will say, in hindsight, I did not care for that movie in theaters. It made me very angry. In hindsight, I guess it's interesting that DC is going, like, right out the gates crazy.
Yeah.
Like, they're not reserved at all. They're immediately doing Parademons and Steppenwolf and time travel and Atlantis and mother boxes.
Yeah.
And like Lex Luthor peeing in jars.
He was a little bizarre.
Is that a thing?
But
You don't remember Grandma's peach tea?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, not
but,
jars, jar.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
I also see the movie as what I hope Warner Brothers sees it as a learning opportunity, because
Hopefully.
it clearly seems like they took the criticism for that and applied it to Justice League. Because even in the most recent trailer, it looks like they've lightened it up a little bit. They went back and did a whole bunch of reshoots to make it a little bit more humorous and not as so serious and dark and disturbing. Like, so it had its flaws, but it gives me hope for the future of the DC cinematic universe, because I'm a big DC fan. Like, I want their movies to be good. It wasn't the strongest start, but it was a start.
Yeah.
So,
It did
and
happen. No one can deny that.
I still liked it. It was cool to see the armored bat suit from like Dark Knight Returns and Batman and Superman fighting like that, just like the comic book. Like, that's one of my biggest things that DC does really well in their movies, is they do a very good job of translating comic panels to film. There are a lot of scenes in Batman vs. Superman and even Wonder Woman that are just plucked right from the comic and translated to screen.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite things. That was my favorite part of Wonder Woman, that scene when she's eating the ice cream on the train station. Like, her reaction to that is straight from the comic book.
Yeah.
Like, they just pulled it out and like,
They liked that scene so much they adapted it twice. It's in one of the cartoons as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
in the war.
three times.
Yeah.
It's in Justice League War. It's in the Justice League War animated movie, but I think it's also in the Justice League cartoon from way back in the
Is
day.
it?
I'm pretty sure.
I'm
because
surprised.
it
People
ex-
just really like Wonder
Wonder
Woman
Woman
eating
being,
ice cream.
being
because
shocked by ice cream.
that
yeah.
scene of her eating ice cream exists a couple times in the comics. In the New 52 version, I think it existed in some of the old version too. It's like some of the older comics too. I might be wrong on
Next
that, but
episode of Sleepy Nerds Podcast, Wonder Woman eats ice cream. We talk about it for a full hour.
I'm okay with that. So yeah, that's my horrible thing that people think is horrible that I like. So
I'll segue just because we're talking about DC.
Okay. Mine has nothing to do with DC or comic books.
That's fine.
Okay.
Mine is Teen Titans Go.
But see, now I'm kind of with you on this. I like it.
I'm not.
But I'll let you talk.
I am in the firm opposite camp.
That's fine.
I think Kyle and I are in the minority on this
Yeah.
one.
But go ahead and defend the terrible, objectively terrible thing that you like.
Oh, shut up. So, I think people are angry because Teen Titans ended, and because
That's true.
and because Teen Titans Go exist, it means that Teen Titans never existed, and people can't enjoy it anymore, I suppose. I like Teen Titans Go. A thing I like is superheroes hanging out, just not doing shit.
Yeah.
It was one of the only parts of Age of Ultron I liked is all the Avengers just kind of hanging out and dicking around at Tony's and then at Clint's.
Sure.
I like the shawarma scene.
Uh-huh.
I like Teen
Everyone
Titans
likes
Go. I like the idea of like superheroes just hanging out like when they're not superheroing.
Yeah.
I think that's what Teen Titans, like, on the whole, is sort of good for. Because it's like they're teenagers, so
Yeah.
they sort of, like, have more of an excuse
But
to.
And there were a couple episodes even in the original series where they
Yeah.
I mean, not as much as
But
Teen Titans
I like
Go,
the
but-
goofy humor. I like that it's like the opposite direction of what DC is doing, like their movies, where I
Yeah.
like just like, and really as just like a reaction to like comics in general, because even like the Young Justice cartoon was so serious and
Yeah.
grimdark, and all the comics were so serious and grimdark.
Yeah.
And like Teen Titans Go is like goofy and inconsequential, and like there's like I like the 80s influence, of course. There's lots of like 80s influence, like humor and jokes and references. I like all the little background, like every background of every scene. There's like little
has
Easter eggs.
I was just gonna say that's my favorite
Like,
part of that show.
in Robin's room on his what
What?
What?
Are you not going to say the one I think you're going to say?
with Jason Todd's
Yes!
ashes
And the crowbar. I love
Yeah.
that. That's great.
Fucking hilarious!
Oh
I
my
love
God.
that.
How do you not? That's incredible. For a
So
kid show,
fucking-
the fact that
yeah,
they sneak
I
that
get
into a
that.
show
great.
that is aimed at kids is
I like
incredible.
the art style. I like Dan Hipp a lot. It's based off his artwork. I think he did a lot of design work for it. Dan Hipp's just a really good artist. I like that kind of like cartoony, like super cartoony, exaggerated. I like that they kept the voice cast of the original Teen Titans
Yeah.
cartoon. I like that they have them just say ridiculous shit and do ridiculous shit. I like that there's a lot of songs about pizza and hamburgers and tacos.
You like that one song that's Cyborg
Night
gets
Begins to
obsessed with?
Shine.
Yeah.
I fucking love that song.
And you like that guy retweeted our post about that.
The voice of Robin
Yeah.
liked our tweets because I said, I don't get why people hate this cartoon. And he was nice enough to be like, yeah, I agree. I also like that. I also like that
He
thing
was
that
nice.
pays me.
I was gonna say, he was nice enough to support the thing that he's in that he gets a paycheck for.
That's my defense of that. Aaron, you wrap us up.
Okay. Now that I've been like shitting on both the things that you guys like, unequivocally, I love the music video version of the Wham rap. Parentheses, enjoy what you do. It is.
What?
It started out ironically, and I've grown to love it. So
I have no idea what that is.
it's a song by Wham that was released in the late 80s. It's a rap about how you shouldn't have a like boring 9-to-5 job that you hate just to pay the bills. You should enjoy your life. It has George Michael wearing a leather cap and leather jacket with no shirt. It has
So every George Michael video.
it has Andrew Ridgeley as the disaffected youth who doesn't have a job and lives with his parents, and his parents are like constantly yelling at him to go get a job.
So they travel to the future and started recording him now.
It has some great dancing with just like really squared elbows in the air over the head. It has, you can't see, but I'm dancing along right now.
And when she says great, she means it ironically.
I don't. I mean this so genuinely. And I know that I'm sarcastic about almost everything, but I really love this. And I recently downloaded the song, so I was like, okay, I obviously need to have this on my phone. And like the full version is not good. It's like a 5-minute song,
You don't say.
and the last 2 minutes of it is just like the little like end tag repeated over and over and over and over, and it sucks. It also doesn't have it's like I think like one of the verses is the same, and then like there are like 2 verses in the video that aren't in the song, and they're different verses, and they're just like weird. It has George Michael talking about how he spends all of his days like down with the boys in a bar, and that's what everyone should do.
You don't say.
And I think it's a minute and 37 seconds in. It has my favorite part. I often load up this video just when I'm feeling down, just to watch this one part. It's this guy walking down the street, and the line on the song is George Michael saying, "Listen, Mr. Average, you're a jerk." And he whips his head around and looks directly into camera, and it is the funniest thing in my goddamn life.
Yeah, I screen capped that image just for Erin so I can send it to her.
I rewatch that all the time. It's like perfect timing. He whips his head around. It's so good. And like honestly, I think I found it because like YouTube, like I had autoplay on or it recommended it for me or something. It was like, wham, rap. That sounds ridiculous and stupid.
Let me watch it.
Right. And I watched it and I like sent it to Kyle to like make him be like, what is wrong with you? And now I listen to it like multiple times a week.
Okay, two things.
Yeah.
One, as someone who genuinely likes Wham and George Michael, I unironically enjoy both. It kills me that you like hate so much good stuff. Like we're gonna have a segment called Erin Hates the 80s.
Yeah, we're building up to that.
Because she hates so much good shit from the 80s.
I hate a
she
lot from
fucking
the 80s.
loves Wham rap.
It's so good. It speaks to me. It speaks to me.
Ugh.
Kyle is giving me a wrap it up motion. That's basically all I have to say. Please, everyone, go watch Wham Rap parentheses enjoy what you do on YouTube.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
Do it. Watch it at least to the point where Mr. Average shows up and looks at camera. And I mean, that's like, I think most of the way into the song, but still super good.
Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.
That's it. It's later than when we started. Good night. Tune in next time. Hey everyone, if you enjoy listening to the Sleepy Nerds podcast and want to hear more from us, you can follow us on Facebook at Sleepy Nerds Podcast, on Instagram or Twitter at Sleepy Nerds Pod, and you can also subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbean, and iTunes.